Why do some companies stand out while others seem to merely show up? That's what we'll explore with leaders across multiple industries to hear how they're creating better experiences by design. And now your host, Susan Quinn.
I've interviewed a lot of people throughout my career, CEOs, entrepreneurs, authors, but I don't think I've ever heard an opening line quite like this. I hated school, but I loved learning. That simple statement tells you a lot about today's guest. Curiosity is at the heart of who he is, and it has shaped a career spanning innovation, entrepreneurship, education, and emerging technology. Dr. Garrett Westlake serves as the executive director at VCU's Vinci Center for Innovation. And we discussed how AI is changing the way we learn, how we lead, create, and solve problems. But we also explored what happens when AI levels the playing field and it opens up a world of possibilities for everyone. What does it take to stand out in that technology-driven world? I think you're going to enjoy this conversation. Let's jump in. Garrett, welcome to Better Experiences by Design. I am delighted to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I want to start with a shout out to the new community school located here in Richmond, Virginia. We both serve in an advisory capacity to this amazing school. I think they just received the Virginia's Best for Independent Schools, not the first time they've received it. Mm-hmm. And we both know, and for those who don't know, they specialize in helping students, educate students who have dyslexia and other learning differences. They are amazing. Well, we were reviewing their strategy, and the advisory group moved into, well, how is AI going to change that? And I was fascinated by your conversations. So that meeting was over, and the first thing I did was reach out to you and say, you need to be on this podcast because I think you've got a lot of great thoughts on it. So with that as a backdrop, let's get into, because I know you cross an intersection of innovation and creativity and technology. Mm-hmm. Give us a little background on you.
Yeah, I think it's serendipitous that we met there because I always share that I grew up really hating school, but loving learning. And I think for me, innovation, entrepreneurship are just so grounded in being curious. I think really great entrepreneurs, really great innovators are just curious people. And school, unfortunately, for some students really pushes down their curiosity. But if we can create spaces where people can be learners and they can be curious, I think that's when we open up insights and possibilities. And so I think I've been really fortunate to have a career and experience that has allowed me to be really curious. I've been a special education teacher. I've provided accommodation services for students with disabilities in higher education. I've run a tech startup. I've mentored startups. I've, founded a startup. I've sold a startup. And so I think at this point, I'm just so appreciative that I have this diverse array of people that I've met, experiences that I've had. And there's a term in cognitive science called the adjacent possible. And it's one of my favorites. And it really thinks about our brains as this connectionist network. And the next big idea that we have comes from the, fibers that were connected between abstract thoughts that we had. Something we saw on the way to work this morning, something we read in the news, something our kids said to us while driving them to school. Our brains are constantly forming these new connections. And with every new connection opens up the ability for the adjacent possible. Some new thought builds on that.
I love that. I think you need to come to Circle S every single day because we are all about being curious and creating. But the role you have today, give us a little bit of background on that.
Yeah. So I came to VCU 10 years ago to lead the Vinci Center for Innovation. And we really built one of the first of its kind product innovation programs in the country, working really closely with industry to help them solve their wicked challenges. And after doing that for a number of years, I started to look more and more at education and think, gosh, what could really use some front-end innovation is higher education in particular. And so the role I'm in now, I like to think it's akin to an industry, a front-end innovation office. What's that group within the university that's insatiably curious, that's running experiments, that's asking what if, and most of what we do might never see the light of day. Just like any good corporate front-end office. But the things that we do, we're able to hand off our learnings to the other colleges, schools, and units so they can thrive. And I think that is what's so exciting today, is being able to think about the future of higher education, work with really talented, smart people, and be a little bit of a pollinator going between those different disciplines.
Well, I think that's important. In the day, I think we thought of higher ed as you got your degree and then you went to whatever career you chose. There is a way that we can all work together collaboratively. I want to start with this whole thing on innovation, specifically with AI wrapped around that. Where does that live in your day today?
Yeah, I mean, this is something obviously that when you do innovation, right, everyone wants to talk to you about. I think one of the things that we've done as a team that's really helped us is we are doing weekly AI sprints. So a member of our team every Monday proposes a challenge that the whole team does and presents back the next week. And it's forced us to really take on some things that made us uncomfortable, that we didn't think we could do. Like, can we all really code our own AI agents to take over a part of our jobs? Yes. And that almost doesn't even feel like we're moving fast enough. And I think that has been really striking.
Even weekly isn't moving fast enough?
Even weekly. Our backlog of things that we would like to learn and like to do just keeps getting longer and longer and longer. And something we did one week where, we trained an AI agent to do this. The next week, it feels like we're talking about, well, that's so outdated. You just need an AI chief of staff, right? And you're no longer working with individual agents. That's what your chief of staff does. And how quickly those conversations change is something that, while a little bit uncomfortable for my team, the real struggle is how do you translate that for the majority of users at any institution, be they a business, be they a university.
Where would you, as we get started on this conversation, where should we all begin this journey in AI? Because it's here. Genie's out of the bottle. It's not going away. I'm a little tired of the conversation, is it going to replace my job? Well, if you don't understand it, I think it will. So with that as a beginning point, where should we all, we're not all coming fresh out of school, or we're not all in this technology mode. And for leaders or CEOs that are not tech savvy or who fear it, give us a little bit of your wisdom here.
I mean, I feel like making it personal. I think being curious, if you're someone that loves music, rather than see it as the enemy of creativity in the music industry, embrace it, play with it, make music with it. If you're an artist, make art with it. If you're a writer, write with it. I think there's something to being really curious and having fun, playing with it. I think that is really disarming. I think take something that you feel empowered that you're an expert with, and then lean into it and see what happens.
How should educators be viewing AI?
I think that is a really sticky question at the moment with a lot of different opinions. I think I've seen a couple of different models that I think approach it in really fun ways, which are everything from, color coding different assignments to say, this is an assignment where there is no AI, to this is an assignment where you have to use AI. This is an assignment where AI is optional, and approaching it that way and sort of divvying up assignments individually to say, where does this fall on the spectrum of where you could use AI? In some ways, I think that mirrors the workforce. There might be some things that I do at work that using AI is fine. There might be other things I do at work where that becomes a little dicier. You're not going to take every, proprietary data set or piece of information you have and throw it into any online AI platform. You're going to use your enterprise level one and lock it down. And so I think modeling that for students is really helpful. Knowing when and where to use it instead of this, my first step is always just to throw it in ChatGPT. So I think that's one approach to it. The other is evaluating students on pre and post. So totally fine to use AI, but show me your draft first. Show me the improvements that the AI made, and then show me what you did with it from there.
I love that.
And I think that is really helpful, because if you just typed a prompt in and submitted the paper without doing anything to it, no one's really impressed, right? Like that's not going to get it done for anyone. But if you wrote a prompt and you got feedback and then you edited it and you went back and forth and you had this robust conversation, then I can see your thinking, I can see your learning, I can see how you're using the tool.
That's how I use it, actually. My original thoughts, is there anything you would like to give me feedback on? It's a little too complimentary. And I said, stop being,
Exactly.
Push back on me. And so I'm training my bot to help me be a better strategic thinker or leader or fill in the blank. At what point are we going to stop using our brain if AI takes over? I mean, it doesn't matter where I go. This fear is definitely out there. And I think read an article recently that most companies have members of their team crying at least once a month over AI.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a generational divide. I'm really grateful that I have a body of work that was sort of pre-AI that allows me to upload a lot of content, a lot of thinking, a lot of writing. And now I have this AI me that I can have these fun conversations with that gives me insights. A great example, I was working on a conference submission the other day, and I asked my AI agent to do the conference submission for me. And the example that it wrote up as part of the conference submission was a project that I hated, that I never talk about because I didn't have a great experience with the client. I think my flight got delayed. I got home a day later than I wanted to, and I've blocked that project out of my mind. The AI me looked at the conference, looked at my experience and said, this is the project you should be talking about. And it was exactly right. I would have regurgitated one of my favorite projects that might not have been the best fit for that conference because I love it. And I think if they were honest with me, my team would be like, you always tell that story, right? And it wasn't the most impactful. The AI was able to tell me, this is the story you should actually tell. And that's the better one. And I was like, wow, you're so right. But it's drawing from an original body of work. And I wonder about a generation that grows up, what are their inputs? What is the original content that defines them as a thinker, as a user, as a creative that informs the AI? And I think we might actually get to a world where we do sabbaticals. I've been thinking about this in the context of my own children. Will we need young people to do a year away from technology where they write, they make art, they make music that is uniquely human in order to then inform their AI going forward? That's just one weird hypothesis I have at the moment.
That's fascinating. I can see where AI is helping us from an organizational standpoint. Talk about in the creative world. Where do you have an opinion on the work that someone like our team would do?
I think I love ideas so much that I'm all about volume, right? And so I see the beauty of AI is in the sheer volume of ideas that it can generate. If I'm working with a creative member and they can give me 3 designs, that's great. I have some choice. I can give some feedback. But if on my own, I can go through 50 and better understand what I'm looking for and then share that with someone and say, look, out of these 50, these are the ones that I really liked. I think it saves everybody time. I think it saves everybody's feelings. If I can get some of the roughness out with the AI before doing that work with a person. Again, I see it really as better understanding my own thinking and seeing it reflected back to me.
You gave an example of the conference. Give me a few more, because I've never thought about it through that lens, and I do appreciate that.
So we've been really, and shameless plug here, so I just was accepted as a Google AI faculty fellow for this year. So I'm excited to get to play with some of the newest Google AI tools. I'm going to geek out a little bit here and share what I've been doing with some of them, and we'll maybe come back and talk about the new stuff. But I've been using Google's Notebook LM as a repository for information and using it as a great reflective tool. So I can put in there, for example, I put in there our project roadmap. So I put in there our dashboard of everything my team is working on, 96 different projects. And And I had the Notebook LM create an infographic that told the story of what our office is doing. I had it create a 90-second hype video that told the story of my office based on our dashboard. It was really helpful to see what it picked out, what it thinks the highlights are, what it thinks the effort is being spent on relative to what the team thought. And so we've been playing with, this is the deck, this is the brief, this is the research we did. Let's drop it in the AI and have it generate an infographic. And then we look at that and go, that's not what this project's about. Well, why does it think that? And that has been super helpful.
So it can create expertise in almost every company if you want it. Where is that going to move professional services? Where is this going to take us? Are we going to need each other? And in the world of fill in the blank, are we going to need the legal people anymore? Are we going to need the accountants? Are we going to need the strategists? Are we going to need the creative teams? That's where I think a lot of people are puzzled.
So I think I'm also puzzled. So I'll preface that. My hypothesis is that I think we will see greater access to maybe some basic human services that are free thanks to AI. So one thought is we've really struggled around access to healthcare, particularly in the US, right? I think we might actually get universal healthcare via AI first. I can see us getting to a point, and I'm not endorsing this, and this is not me saying I'm like excited for this future, but
yeah, you can see it.
I can see us saying, look, so many people struggle to have a primary care physician or to access their primary care physician. What if we just said everyone in the United States gets access to an AI primary care physician that's available 24/7, that can answer basic questions, that can triage, that earache, that sore throat, and it's free? Would that alleviate our ER visits? Would that alleviate the need for primary care and allow the primary care doctors that we do have to provide better patient care? Same thing. Are we going to see free legal services? Because AI tools will make basic contracting, other legal professions table stakes. It'll just be free. And the premium product will be AI plus human. You'll see more AI generated music and art, but the premium product will be human art.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
Human music.
Yeah, so it levels the playing field. We all have access to care, to thought, to
education. I mean, can we do things where like every kid could have an AI tutor that is checking in on their individual learning plan and helping them be successful in school? Great. If you want to use it, it's available to you. If you're attending a school that has teachers and mentors and surrounds you with family and friends that are providing a robust, maybe you're not as reliant on your AI tutor. But if you're a student that didn't have access to those things, that AI tutor may be a lifeline to you. And so I think I would like to think that perhaps AI does replace some of these things, but is mainly providing access for a lot of people that don't have access today.
So we'll always need the specialist. Just make sure we understand the relevancy of whatever you are specializing in. So I hear this human part of the equation. AI's here. It's here to stay. It's growing and getting better every day. What should always remain human?
I mean, I think going back to the adjacent possible, our unique experiences are just that. The way I felt at an event, participating in something, is different than the person standing right next to me, based on all my other experiences that went into that, based on how much sleep I got last night, right? So I think being able to really appreciate our unique differences as a catalyst for innovation. That's why I'm big on personalized AI. I'm less interested in a large language model or a generative model of AI that just says, oh, the answer to this wicked question you're asking is this. I want to be able to say, how would Susan approach that? That's different than how Garrett might approach that, or that how my 10-year-old would approach that, right? And I think those different perspectives, we know, right? Diverse teams are more creative, they're more innovative. And so how do you get that from the AI? I think we need to preserve that human experience, that human perspective. And if that means just it shows up in the prompts, if that shows up in our overlay of it, I think that's going to be key going forward.
Perhaps the organizational chart actually everyone has their own agent, their own. Respond to that. Could you see that going forward? Overkill?
I mean, I'll share another real world example of where we already are, which is I'm really fortunate to give a lot of talks, and I'll show up for organizations and give a talk. And following that, I get a lot of emails, right? The old model was I would show up, people would be like, can I get your LinkedIn? Can I get your email? And I'd talk to 100, 200 people, and 10, 15 of them send me an email. Well, those add up, right? And if they heard the talk, they're probably asking maybe questions that I've gotten before. I've been experimenting with loading the talk, loading supplemental materials into Google's Notebook LM. And as a leave behind, they can chat with digital me.
Whoa.
And what I've done now lately is do a podcast. So Google's Notebook LM will generate an AI podcast summarizing my talk with additional references that I can include in the notebook. As a leave behind for the client, I say, here's the summary podcast. For anyone that missed the talk, for anyone that forgot it over the weekend that wants a refresher, here's a 15-minute podcast summary of what the talk was. And then the feature that is just blows me away. Users can ask a live question during the podcast. So the AI podcast hosts are saying, oh, Dr. Westlake was here last week and gave a talk on human-centered design, and he shared this. You can click a button that says join now, and you click it, and it says, oh, welcome, Garrett, to the conversation. Did you have a question? And that person can speak into their phone and say, I was curious about the implications of human-centered design in healthcare. And it will draw from my research, my notes, my talk, and answer their question. And so it's been really weird, been very creepy, and really helpful as a leave behind where I can say, this is available to your teams. You can ask me questions. You can get recommendations. You get this follow-up instead of sending me an email.
My mind is spinning in a million directions, so I need to calm it down to see if I can get one out there. Where are we headed in terms of new career? You talked about healthcare, so imagining that differently. You've talked about when you go out and speak, different ways that AI is helping to bring people into the conversation. Give us a few more, because I think we know how we're using it today. Maybe we can hit some of the things of what we shouldn't be doing. But I'm a possibilities. I love the innovation side of this. Do you have any more that might be?
Yeah, so there's a really interesting, another new tool coming out of Google Labs called Career Dreamer. And it's a platform designed just to help you imagine a future career. And what's so interesting about it is, unlike what I think of like a search engine, like if I wanted to know what degrees VCU had, right? I might Google VCU degrees. And if my father was a nurse, I might be like nursing degrees at VCU. And I'm going to go to the nursing school and I'm going to see nursing degrees. The difference in this tool is it engages with you and asks you questions. It's curious. So if I said to Career Dreamer, I'm interested in nursing, it would take that and say, great. Are you into athletics? What do you know about physical therapy? And I might be like, what's physical therapy, right? Maybe I'm a 15-year-old and I've never been to physical therapy, right? I had no idea that field even existed. It can play with all these adjacent possibilities and have a conversation with you and be like, well, if you're interested in nursing because you have a family member in nursing, maybe look at kinesiology. Do you know what kinesiology is? Do you know what physical therapy is? And we can have a conversation. And then you can return to that conversation, which I think is the really powerful part, which I can go away. I go to camp, right? The camp has a PA, and I come back from camp and I'm like, what's a PA? What courses do I need to take to be a PA? How long does school take? How much money would I make? And it can answer all those questions. And I think about when I went off to school as an undergraduate student, I had no idea what I wanted to do. There were so many careers I didn't know existed that I wished I could have had a conversation with someone about that. And I came from a family that I got to have a lot of great conversations with a lot of professionals and explore a lot of things. And there was so much I didn't know. And so I think this one is really powerful from how do you return to that conversation over time? How do your experiences shape that conversation? And then how do you explore things and then have it map, which is the part that I'm excited about, that program of study at VCU that can say, oh, you had this transformative experience and you're an engineer and you're thinking about changing to kinesiology. Here's the best way to do that, or here's what would be required.
I'm fascinated by culture. I'm fascinated by what it takes to attract and retain talent. And COVID blew that in a whole new direction, which was fun because we could, do the work that we do, understand the culture, do research of the team, and find out what's missing, where the delta is. And that's a big part of what we love and what we do. Where will AI assist us in that culture creation?
I think maybe AI could have some of the tough love conversation that we wish supervisors would have, but sometimes don't. So I'm thinking about a conversation where, as a young professional, I was ambitious, I was hungry, I was wanting to be more innovative and move faster. And I had a great conversation with my VP at the time. And I said, I know you're asking me to do all these things. Is this how we win? And he looks at me and he's like, what do you mean? Is this how we win? He's like, there's no winning in, student affairs. Like, that's just not the culture here. And then a couple weeks later, we were having another one-on-one and he was like, you don't belong here. You're just a misfit on this team. Like, you want to move fast, you want to explore new things, you want to build, and this is just about maintaining the status quo and doing and he's like, you don't belong. And that felt really
horrible,
awful in the moment, but it gave me the freedom to say, oh, why am I working so hard to assimilate into a culture that just doesn't fit? And I joined the innovation group. And I just cold called the head of the innovation group and was like, I think what you all do is really cool. Could we have a conversation? And that led to a career in higher ed innovation. It was that person saying, you don't belong here. I might have just persisted. I'd like to think I'm a hard worker. I just nose to the grindstone. I would have just stayed after it. And I think I wonder about AI's ability, if you're willing to be vulnerable, ask that tough question the same way. I do the same thing with mine, right? Like, that's being too nice. Like, really tell me where I'm making the mistake here, to say, is this really the right career for me? What does the next 5 years look like in this job? Like, what does promotion look like in this? I mean, I see that for a lot of people, right? We saw that in product innovation. You can be a great engineer, but the degree, a master's in product innovation, helped you be a people leader. And some people were like, well, I'd like to have a master's degree or to make more money, but I don't necessarily want to be a people leader. And so you see, we get mismatched sometimes. So maybe talking that out with an AI, if your supervisor isn't a mentor, can you fill in and say, hey, what does the career trajectory look like for someone in this role?
So it can assist you on your own path, your own career. It can have you look at a world of different possibilities. But the actual leadership of the human being, that intersection, is that going to stay, go away? Let's project 5 years from now.
So I think I'll go back again to I love playing with the personalized approach. So I was working with someone recently who I know loves Brené Brown. And I knew that I was going to have this conversation with that person that could be a challenging conversation. And so I asked the AI to help me role play the conversation. How would Brené Brown have this conversation? And how would she deliver this information? And it did too good a job, to the point where it sounded a little silly. I was like, well, that does not sound like me at all. But then I was able to say, fuse the two. What you know about me and my style with Brené Brown, how would I deliver this information? And it was one of the best conversations I've had with someone. Taking what I knew about them, what I knew they liked or were interested in, fusing that with my own, running some repetitions first, and then engaging in that conversation was way more productive. Now, we might get those assumptions wrong, right? I might assume something about someone that is incorrect and lead me astray, but I could do that without AI. I could make assumptions about someone and their background and their program of study, and that would lead me astray. So I think in some ways, does it force us to slow down? Like, I thought more about that. The AI gave me a chance to slow down and think about the conversation and practice. And before I would have been like, well, this is going to be a tough one-on-one. I'm a leader. I know how to have tough one-on-ones. Like, this will be fine. Instead, I was like, I was curious. I was like, what would it sound like if I were Brene Brown having this conversation? And that led me to these adjacent possibilities that led to a much richer conversation.
Wow. Talk about the work you're doing with Google. Is that a 1-year assignment? What does that look like
It's
for
a
you?
1-year assignment. And I think because I'm in the product space, I kind of see it maybe for a little bit of what it is, which I think it's really great customer discovery, right? They're doing research. But the fellowship is really designed for higher ed leaders who were already users of AI, not necessarily Google, but just AI users. And we had to have a proposed project, something that we were struggling with, that we wanted to work on, that we were trying to leverage AI to do something. And this brings together a cohort of people from all over the world. So it's a global fellowship. I'm with people from Africa and the UK and all over the world. And we come together with the Gemini team at Google, with the Google Labs teams to say, this is something I'm struggling with. I'm trying to figure out if AI can provide a solution. They share us maybe things that aren't public yet, that they have access to, that we can play with, that might solve our challenges. We talk to each other about cross-pollination of ideas. And we get to have a community of folks that get to ask questions and be authentic with each other and worry and wonder. So it's a year assignment. There will be a project, like a capstone project type, that comes out the other side. Mine has changed 5 times since I submitted it because I keep coming up with new things that I'm excited to play with. But it's really a chance, I think, for them to get insight into, the career dreamer is a great example of like, well, we built this thing for people to talk to about their careers. Oh, what if that tapped into course catalogs? What if that tapped into payroll data? What if that tapped into how many of those jobs are available in your region? Does that change what students are thinking? So they're learning from us about the questions that we're asking or the features we're looking for or the add-ons that we're requesting.
Well, I think we have a chance to improve relationships, deepen perhaps relationships, understand how we collaborate better, communicate better. I mean, imagine a world where we're doing all of that at a higher level instead of trying to figure out where we fit in, or is this going to send us down the wrong path? But I'm going to zip through a few quick things and give me top of mind. The biggest misconception about AI is what?
That it's finished, that it's static. I think we think of it like, oh, it's the internet, right? Or like it's a web browser because we know what those are. And I think it's too amorphous still. I don't think we know. And so I think we're reacting to this thought of like, oh, it's a thing. It's an electric car. Oh, yeah. It's moving so quickly that you don't know. You don't even know what it is. Like that word is so meaningless almost. It can take so many different forms. And I think that to me is really, well, I'll go back to my car analogy. It's like transportation. It's like referring to something as a car when you're talking about methods of transportation. It could be a train, it could be a bus, it could be a bicycle, a motorcycle, a car, a boat. Like that's the breadth of AI, not it's a car.
That's awesome. The best investment that a leader can make today related to AI is what?
Providing access and conversation for their team. I think being curious alongside their team, acknowledging that they don't know, encouraging people to be creative and bring them novel solutions. I think where I've seen some teams struggle is the organization will go all in on a single enterprise client and say, well, we can only use Copilot, nothing else, don't use it. And every organization I've seen do that, everyone just uses their own personal accounts and gets a little loose with what they're willing to put into it. It might be uncomfortable for the team, but you just need to say, look, like if you all want to use Gemini, maybe we need Gemini and Copilot and Claude. And how do we make that available to you at least on a limited basis instead of trying to lock it down?
We have a book that was published last year, Does Your Business Show Up or Stand Out? There were traits in it that have been universal that we talk about. In an AI-driven world where it's helping to level the playing field for businesses, where are we going to find ways to stand out? How is that going to look in the coming years?
So I think about this in the context of what we used to think of as search engine optimization, right? What does that look like in an AI world? I was in Las Vegas in the fall, and I finished a talk. I had the afternoon free in Las Vegas. And I thought about if I Googled, what is there to do in Las Vegas this afternoon? That's like one of the worst Google prompts you could possibly put in. I would get so many random things. Vegas, you can do everything, right? Like that's not helpful. I went to my ChatGPT and said, based on what you know about me, what should I do this afternoon in Vegas? It came back with a singular response and was like, you need to go to Dream Racing USA at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway and take professional race car driving lessons.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, I've never done anything like that in my life. But I was like, let's do it. Called me an Uber, went out there, took private driving lessons, drove the track, had an unbelievable time. Like one of the funnest things I've ever had the chance to do. Afterwards, I jumped back on and was like, hey, by the way, thank you. That was awesome. We did a quick postmortem and debrief on what I enjoyed about it so that it could make better recommendations in the future. I contrast that sort of like before times of what would I do that afternoon? How do I find the right company for me, right? Is it just who can repair my roof? Or does the AI know what I value? I want someone that is responsive, or I really care about the warranty, or I don't care about the warranty because I'm going to do it myself. It can make more informed guidance around, hey, you're going to love this racing experience in Vegas. I'm not going to tell you to go to the casino. You're not interested in that. I'm not going to tell you to go to some dance club. You're not interested in that. You love being outside. You love adventure. You love high adrenaline activities. Like, go do this. That, I think, is going to be so interesting. How do businesses better reflect their culture and make that available to AI so that when it has clients looking for something, it can say, oh, if you want a construction company to do this project, Horton's your guy. Because I know these things about you, and I know you value relationship, and I know you value
It's going to be part of
innovation.
our business development.
And I think that becomes the search engine optimization of how are you reflecting your values and value proposition as a business in such a way that it gets picked up by the models and can direct you to the right customer.
You talked about a possibility for healthcare being available. Project out, I don't know, a year probably seems like a long time in the AI world, but if you can, a few years down the road, what is possible from where you sit? What are you excited about that could improve a world around us?
I mean, one of my favorite thought pieces that I got a chance to do in graduate school was on radical unschooling. And I was really fascinated by this concept of radical unschooling, which was really driven around the student being curious. And instead of going to math class and science class, students had questions. And they'd say, I love whales. How much does a whale weigh? And you would learn measurement through understanding the size and the weight of the whale. And then through understanding how the whale moves through water, you would learn physics. And it didn't feel like learning because you were just being curious about something you were passionate about. I think in the best version, the AI tools are so seamless that it allows us just to be curious. So I'm like, I wonder if I could learn to play the guitar. And suddenly the AI makes that so easy to walk alongside me and say, hey, I know you took 6 months of piano when you were 8. That's where we're going to start with guitar. Here's what I know you like, right? Like we're not going to do it in the morning because that's when you work out. We're going to do it at this time. Like, let's take it to your office. Let's carve out this time. I'll put it on your calendar. We'll practice together, right? I know you want to play old 90s grunge. Like, we'll start there. We'll do Soundgarden. Like, it will make it as accessible as possible for me to learn to play the guitar. Instead of the friction of, like, I'm in my mid 40s and I'm going to show up at my kid's guitar shop and be like, I'd like to learn guitar. Like, that feels a lot of friction. So I think whether it's healthcare, whether it's education, whether it's music, whether it's art, how is it reducing friction so that I can be curious and say, gosh, I've always wondered how you paint, how you do this. Can it scaffold that for me? Can it help me take that first step towards leaning into that curiosity? I think that would be. And is that just like, I'm curious about this mole, right? Like, can it help you say, let's make that as frictionless as possible to get checked out?
A world of possibilities
I hope.
by staying curious and leveling that playing field. That's an exciting thing to think about. I always end with this question, Garrett. What do you do to keep sharpening your pencil and bettering your best?
Play. I'm big on adventure. I think for me, adventure forces you into places where you're uncomfortable, where you don't know what's going to happen. I always learn something from a new adventure. And then that makes me, I think, more resilient and open to other experiences and opportunities that inform my more academic thinking. But I think going on adventures, adventuring with other people, I think is key.
You are fascinating, and I knew this would be a fun conversation. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your innovation, your curiosity, and let's stay in touch.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being part of our Best in Class community. And until next time, keep bettering your best.